Hola amigos, welcome to Life for Living Well channel. Please subscribe to keep the channel going. You can also check us out by visiting our website on www.lifeforlivingwell.com. Sit down and enjoy the helpful topic for this week. Hey, welcome back to another episode from Life for Living Well. I hope you are well for listening to me this week. My name is Richard, and I'm the anchor for you for this podcast for this week. Before we commence the podcast for this week, if you'd like to know one or two things about Life for Living Well community, our website is going through little changes. It might not be obvious right now. For the next few weeks, you might see a slight different to what it is currently. But if you'd like to know one or two things about this community, what this community does, and how you can contribute to the work that we're doing, or how the work we're doing can enhance your life, you can check it out on our website at www.lifeforlivingwell.com. Once again, the website is www.lifeforlivingwell.com. And if you'd like to send your question, your query, or your support or your advice to me directly, you can send your email to hello@lifeforlivingwell.com. And let's begin the podcast for this week. I hope everyone is doing great. So the topic I have for this week, I call it an art of giving. Yes, you hear me right. I call it an art of giving. Today, the world is full of takers. You might currently have such a kind of people in your life at the moment, or you might be the one. So don't lose hope. So by the end of this podcast, you might pick up one or two things that you can do and shift you a bit to the group of giver as well. So today, the world is full of takers, and the one quality or trait that is largely associated with takers, one or two of those things that you usually more is they complain a lot. So they get frustrated because they feel entitled, because they want something done for them right now. So they complain a lot because they only just focus on themselves all the time. And also, they automatically become victimized when you hold them accountable at the same time. So this kind of group of people, they normally create what I call a triangle relationship. So firstly, they might come as they need you to rescue, and then once you rescue, you becoming it automatically their persecutor, and then they turn the role again, becoming a victim. So don't be a taker, and be the person that more comfortable to give and also receive it. Not just receiving, because if you look around you, the universe have so many lessons that can teach us, and I'm probably going to cover this in the one of the podcasts that I plan for the future to render through this platform about how do we in harmony with the law of nature, because nature himself have his own laws, and once we breaking these laws, sometimes the punishment that we get from it is so obvious, sometimes it's so minimal, but this law is enforced without any woman or person input to it to influence it. So I'm not going there this week. So our focus on this particular podcast this week is to develop an art of giving. If you already have it, I would say great to you, because the common law of nature is you get what you give back. If you put a seed of apple on the ground and you put on the right soil ground and you look after it, it automatically produces apple back to you. It doesn't produce banana or produce vegetables for you. It produces something that you put, the seed that you put on the ground. The same thing with the human being. So you conceive and you began what you conceive. So this is the basic law of nature. So the same thing is giving. So, and when people think about giving, they look at it in terms of money alone. And there's so many ways where we're giving to ourselves, to others, and to universal world generally. And it could be through our good deeds, it could be through our harmonious way of living, it could be through our time, it could be through our listening. It can just be we've been pleasant, so we reduce pain in the world for that particular day or time or year or month. So what are the things that make someone come across as a taker? They can be rich, they can be living in the most expensive house, they can be driving an expensive car, they can have the best job in the world. They may still be a taker. I once invited to a birthday party a long time ago, and I remember this story. So the celebrant was just jovial and entertaining everybody. But what you notice in the mix of about 16 people that were invited, this individual was dominate the conversation and have sense needs. And so one of the quiet ones that are actually close to this individual, they work together, now make a statement. And that statement, I puzzle about it a lot for a few minutes. And he said, for you, everything's all about you. He's not joking, but it's just a refrain of how that person come across to him, and also the way he have observed this individual in their close community at work, and now doing the same thing in this particular occasion. But this individual that this word was referenced to, at that moment, didn't really grab into it. He thought that it was a compliment. So that person was laughing, and he continued to do what he does. And this is what you say with the taker. So when you're the taker, you always focus your attention how the person can be useful for you, and at the end you're going to use them, you're going to explore them, you're going to you make the opportunity of connecting to them in a real way. So takers are normally very complaining. There's a thing that you can complain about, because sometimes you need to complain about it to make that service change. But in this case, takers normally complain about themselves, what they need, what they want, only for themselves. And they complaining in order to find some changes to happen for their own interest alone. So it's a kind of win-lose mentality. That is not small, I'm happy, I don't really bother about any other thing. So Associated with takers are complaining and victimizing. They always see themselves as a victim, and they always see themselves how they are good to everybody and everybody take advantage of them. Are you a taker today, or are you a giver? So it depends how these particular traits dominant in your own life. How do we become a giver when we already think we do not have enough? So these are the questions people do ask me when I have the opportunity to have this conversation with them. So many people think that they don't have enough, but if you actually pursue about it, you will still have more than some people. So it's very interesting when the poor people in the Western world talk about how poor, how impoverished they are. And I think everything is all relative, because the poor here could be the richest person. It could be one of the richest of middle class in the third world countries. But to the standard of so do we now have a one single definition for a poor? And that's why I say it depends on the environment that you find yourself, because the poor here could be a rich person in the third world, and the poor abject poverty in the third world that you experience, you might not find it here, because the system cover you and provide the house over your head, put the food on your table, but you still poor. So how do we become a giver when we already think we do not have enough? Many people think they do not have enough, so they are not able to give. I remember Gandhi once said, the universe has enough for everybody, but the greediness of individual does not have. And this is true, because the more you give, the more you get back. But you don't give in such a way that you deny or you put yourself in the risk. If you have the money set aside for a particular project, you don't just take that money and give it out. But the kind of giving encourage you to practice is to be more intentional about it, is to set aside certain things that you know you can give. You could give your knowledge to your local community. You might think who want to listen to you. You will be surprised when you do that, how you could influence or change or support a particular life. You might spend an hour in one person might be a change in that person in a day, and that day might be life. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the money. You can give a part of your time that's so crucial to you. You can give your knowledge. You can write a book. You can volunteer. You can do things that you can even listen to your loved one, your wife, your husband, your sister. You can give them 30 minutes of giving them attentive listening. That is a giving. It's not just when you give the money. When you pray for people that you don't even know, when you pray for the politicians that are leading your country. I know many people doesn't want to talk about politicians, but pray for them, because they make a decision that will affecting you one way or the others. And that is also a giving. So we have opportunity every day to give, but sometimes we connote giving to only money. Yes, it is also good to give the money if you have it. And even when you don't have it, you still can give certain time that you have, a little out of it away. Because whatever you give, it always comes back to you, even more abundantly. It might not come back to you in terms of how you give. You might help somebody to cross the road. When you get it back, you might not get it back by crossing the road next time. You might get it back in another way. It could be just 5 minutes delay that protects you from a crash that might happen. So all this podcast was trying to show you is to say that sometimes the art of giving, because we don't really can define it, because it's a quantity that you cannot really touch, but you can feel it when you're embracing and practicing it. It's the same way you show gratitude. You don't really say it, but the impact and the feeling that you feel after all this thing is what make it surreal. Nature is a greater teacher in terms of giving, and the more it can give, the more it has. How? Have you ever considered a land that for generation, it produced whatever they put inside it back to the earth in abundance? Have you ever considered how does it do that? The rain and it recycle again, and it rain and it recycle again, and it rain and it recycle again. Have you ever considered that? To be a giver is to be free from any limitations. Think about it. Year upon year, the land gives abundance in return to what planted without diminishing returns. The nature of giving is more than just in terms of money. There are many ways you give without even noticing. Such as your time with a friend that needs you at that moment, or when the family needs your emotional support. That's not the time to castigating them for their bad choices or bad behaviors. There will be time when you will have to do that. Listening without judgment. One of the biggest obstacles to giving is our mindset. Believing we do not have enough and only the rich can give is an unhealthy belief that holds us back, because an act of giving is an open door of opportunity for us. So if you want to open abundance in your life, begin to embrace giving. Begin to embrace it. Have a surpluses and abundant mindset. Without this, you will lock yourself in a place that you never have enough. You can have a lot of money and you can still poor. I've seen people that they have a massive big house, but they only sleep on the sofa. They have a lot of shoes, but they just walk on their bare feet. They have a lot of clothes, they only wear one clothes. And they cannot share. They panic that it's going to finish. Even when in their mix of abundance, this is a poor mindset. This is a lack of abundant mindset. And whatever you need, you're always going to have enough of it. But the greediness of individual allow people to amass a lot of things that they don't actually use, but in case they will need it. So the basic law of the universe, you get what you give. Isaac Newton's third law also supported this theory. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So when you give something, you always either you get return of what you give or you get the opposite of what you give. So I encourage you to give love, to give kindness, to give compassion. Embrace simplicity into your life. Embrace patience into your life. Embrace compassion into your life, and see how your life will change for good. Not only for you, everyone that have a contact to you will experience enormous pleasantry about you. The world is full of many people that carry their pains into their relationship with other people. But if you can be the one that brings joy and peace to the people you have a contact with, you make love and joy and peace and serenity into the world. So we commit toward to the end. Another thing that holds us back are our wounds, which are not limited to physical experience, but extended to emotional baggage. Maybe the way you are raised or brought up. Maybe you brought up in a home that poverty is so in your face, or is always have to be managed all the time. And you never see any of the adults in your family actually give, they only take. And they connect that if they give, there's nothing left for the family. So without dealing with them appropriately, it becomes an obstacle to freedom. So giving is a natural essence, is how you express being free, because you are doing it from the place of abundance. As we are unable to let go of generational wounds, when you keep score of those who have hurt you, in the end, we hurt ourselves. It's so amazing how people let what happened in the past play in their mind again and again and again. And the person or individual that they or perceive that have hurt them or done that, have already moved on. But in natural sense, when we carry so many baggage that we should have left behind, it makes it more difficult to be open to giving, because giving is a higher vibration than taking. If you make ourselves taking all the time, we are always looking that we don't have the access to universal abundance. We are. We also part of the cosmos systems. So we have direct access to it. We can influence it. But if our mind doesn't open, it's so difficult to do. If you were being held back by the lower vibration of energy of lacking, it is impossible to rise above it. But the simple way of rising above this lower vibration is to embrace act of giving. Start small. Start small. Start in the way that doesn't hurt you as well. Because if you don't give judiciously or wisely, you could also attract all kinds of people into you. So be wise and judge, be discernment about the thing that you are doing. And finally, one trait and virtue that emerges in giving is freedom and abundant mindset. And you need this because in this world, two things motivate people, and they motivate different people: security and freedom. The way you get freedom is through adventure, and there's nothing more adventurous by giving from the limited that you have. So I pray, may you have strength and courage to begin this week. So take a challenge to do this week and let me know. Send me your result. Give me your testimony through my email and send me to hello@lifeforlivingwell.com. Once again, my name is Richard, and I hope this particular podcast will help someone as you begin your week goes well today. Thank you. Hasta luego. From everyone here, from Life for Living Well, we say hasta luego, amigos. Thank you for your time this week. May your rest of the week be safe and loving. Please subscribe to our channel to keep it going. And you can find more information on our website by visiting www.lifeforlivingwell.com. Goodbye.